Today we're going to start a new section called 3.3, the Distributive Property. There's a couple things that I want you to write down, so go ahead and pull out your red pen, and I want you to write this in your notes. Read to me what this says. The number outside the parentheses is multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. So in my example that I have up here, you can see the A is outside the parentheses. Basically what that's saying is we need to take this A and multiply it not just by the first letter or number that's there, but also multiply it by the next one. So when I say that I'm going to multiply these two together, I simply get AB. So go ahead and write that underneath it. And then we're going to add not just A times B, but we're also going to do what? A times B. Very good. So today we're going to do this instead of with a bunch of letters, we're going to also add some numbers into it. For the first one, it's asking us to simplify the expression. Remember, if we're simplifying something, it doesn't mean we come up with an answer. We're just making it more simple. That's what simplify means. So the first thing you want to do is look and see, is there anything inside the parentheses that I need to combine? No, there's not. Is there anything outside the parentheses that I need to distribute? Yes, there is. So because of this, we just learned the number outside the parentheses has to be multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. So I want you to take your pencil, and we're just going to show that I have to multiply the 5 by the 2x, and I also need to multiply the 5 times a 5. For the first part, we're going to go ahead and show some work. This little one right here, we are multiplying the 5 times the 2x. So we're going to show 5 times 2x. Now let's look at this number outside the parentheses. Is that 5 a positive or a negative? Positive. Positive. So that means we are going to add, because it's a positive, 5 times, and notice I have to also multiply it by the second term. So I'm going to multiply it times 5 times 5. Now what we have to do is just work from left to right. What is 5 times 2x? 10x, okay? So really all you're doing, you can combine them because we're just taking these numbers and multiplying 5 times 2, and we know it's in the x family. So 5 times 2x is going to be 10x. Then we're going to keep moving on to the next part, and we are going to also multiply 5 times 5. What's 5 times 5? 25. And is that a positive or a negative 25? Positive. That's positive. Now, many times today, I have seen people get their final answer. Is this correct? No. Somebody raise your hand and tell me, why is 35x not correct? Maddie?
Because they're in different families.
They're in different families. Those are terms that I cannot combine. This one is a variable term, and that is a constant. So I cannot smush them together into the same family. Therefore, my answer is 10x plus 25. We have made it more simple. We have simplified it. All right, so let's go to problem B. Do I need to combine anything inside my parentheses? No. Do I need to use the distributive property where there's a number outside and I have to distribute it to everything inside? Yes. Yes, I do. Help me, Austin. What should I do? I'm going to multiply first the 3 times the 4y. Then what should I do?
And you have to multiply the 3 times the positive 2.
You are correct. All right, so now underneath that, we're just going to write down exactly what we're doing. We took that 3 and multiplied it times 4y. Now, this 3 is a positive. So if it's a positive, I am going to be adding. Now I have to add the 3 times the positive 2. Let's work from left to right. Christian, what's 3 times 4y? 12y, and then we can see this is a positive, so I'm going to bring down the positive. And Sarah, what is 3 times 2? 6. Is there anything left to do?
No.
There is not. So my answer is 12y plus 6. Problem C is slightly different, but not too different. Okay, we're going to still use the same exact rules. Is there anything I can do inside my parentheses?
No.
No, there's not. Okay. Do I need to distribute anything?
Yes.
Yes, the negative 4 is on the outside. So I'm going to multiply this negative 4 times an x. How many x's are there?
1.
Just 1. If you want to, you can put a little 1 in there so you know that means 1x. Is there anything else I should still continue to distribute? Okay, I'm also going to take my arrow and multiply a negative 4 times a positive 6. So let's do this first one right here. Negative 4 times 1x. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take this number that we have on the outside, and I'm going to bring it down to say negative 4. And what am I multiplying that negative 4 times?
1x.
No, we already multiplied it times the 1x. Times the 6, because I've got to multiply it by my second term. All right, Noah, let's start from left to right. If this is a negative and I'm multiplying it times a positive, is my answer going to be negative or positive? It's going to be negative because there's only 1 there. That's my even and odd rule. And what is negative 4 times 1x? Negative 4x is correct. Now I have to move on to the next part. It is negative 4 times 6. Is my answer going to be positive or negative? Negative, because there's only 1 negative there. Kalani, what is negative 4 times 6? That is correct. Negative 24. Now, because this is a variable term and this is a constant, I cannot combine them together. So my answer is negative 4x minus 24. Problem D is a little bit trickier simply because it's a fraction, but we're going to use the same kind of rules. Is there anything I need to do inside the parentheses first? No, I cannot combine any of that. Is there anything that I need to distribute with the distributive property?
Yes.
Yes, because I have this negative 1/3 on the outside, I have to use my arrows to show I'm going to multiply that times the first term. I am also going to multiply it times the second term. So the first thing I'm going to do is negative 1/3, and I'm going to multiply it times 3n. If I wanted to turn that 3 into a fraction, what would it be?
3 over 1.
3 over 1, okay? Because 3 over 1 means 3 divided by 1, and the answer is 3. So 3 over 1 means the same thing as 3, and then we got to remember that's still in the n family. And now I have to go ahead and write this again because I am going to be multiplying it by my second term. So what is, we're going to do negative 1/3, and I have to multiply it. What was my second term?
6.
Not 6, but
Negative 6.
negative 6. How do I make negative 6 look like a fraction?
Negative 6 over 1.
Negative 6 over 1. Now we just want to go through and see if there is anything that I can cross reduce. Let's look at this first part right here. Can I cross reduce anything, guys?
Yes.
Okay, the 3 and the 3, what do they become?
1.
They become 1s. All right, let's come over here. Is there anything that I can cross reduce here?
3 and 6.
3 and 6, they become
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Now we're going to work from left to right. Let's look at this first one right here. I am multiplying a negative times a positive. What will that equal?
Negative.
A negative, all right? So now I know it's a negative. Now what I have here, this says 1 over 1 times 1 over 1n. 1 over 1 is just like a 1. So 1 times 1n. What is that going to equal?
1. Negative 1.
Okay? 1n, but we know that it was a negative, so negative 1n. Now let's come to this part over here. Negative 1 over 1 times negative 2 over 1. What does that equal?
Negative 2.
Okay, so I am multiplying a negative times a negative. What's my answer going to be? A positive, because that's the even rule. When there's 2 even numbers, they are going to be a positive answer. So plus 2. Now, in order to make yourself look extra smart, you could say that is the answer, but that negative 1n, there is something that could disappear and go away. Do you know which number can disappear? Noah. The 1. If you want to look highly intelligent, you could just write negative n plus 2. That means the same thing as negative 1n. Okay, you just take the 1 away because it's understood that I have only 1n right there. All right, so that's how you do it when you're distributing a fraction. Problem E is using a decimal. All right, so Riley, is there anything that I need to combine inside my parentheses? No, those are two different families, the M family and the N family. Zaria, is there anything that I need to distribute on the outside of my parentheses?
Yes.
Yes, I need to take this negative 1.5 and show that I am going to multiply it by both terms. Who can help me out with what I need to do next? Thank you, Maddie. What's the first thing that I need to multiply together?
Negative 1.5 times 8m.
Very good. And now let's bring our next terms down using these two. Okay, very good. We're going to take the first one, negative 1.5, and then we multiply that times negative n. So we're going to work from left to right, looking at this first. Let's just find out what our sign will be first. Olivia, if I'm multiplying a negative times a positive, what is my answer going to be? It will be a negative. So I'm going to stick my negative right there so I don't forget. Now, since we don't really have our 1.5 times tables memorized, just move it over here onto the side and multiply 1.5 times 8. All right, what is 1.5 times 8?
32. 12.0. 12.0.
Okay,
Negative
12.0. Now, we can just go ahead and get rid of the 0.0. So we know over here we were doing 1.5 times 8m. So what is the answer?
12. Negative 12.
Very good. Negative 12m, because we knew the answer was negative already. Now we're going to go ahead and go on to this next part right here. I am multiplying a negative times a negative. My answer is going to be? Positive. So let's just bring down the plus sign. And now let's just look at this next part right here. We are doing 1.5 times, how many n's are here? 1. So we're doing 1.5 times 1n. What does that equal?
Negative 1.5.
Positive 1.5.
All right, we already decided that it was going to be a positive because a negative times a negative equals a positive. And then that was correct, 1.5n. Can I combine these terms?
No.
No, one's from the M family, one's from the N family, so we cannot combine those terms. So the answer is negative 12 plus 1.5n. On to the next one. I am multiplying negative 1. How many x's are right here? Just 1. So if you want to, you can put in the understood 1 right there. Do I need to distribute anything?
Yes.
Yes, what am I distributing?
Negative 1.
The negative 1, okay? This is what you distribute. It's the thing that's on the outside. So go ahead and make your arrows. And Gavin, what am I doing? Okay, negative 1 times 1x. And what else do I need to do?
Multiply the negative 1 times 9.
That is correct. Looking at this first one right here, I have a negative times a positive. My answer is going to be?
Negative.
Negative. So what is negative 1 times 1x?
Negative 1.
Negative 1x. And then moving on to the next part over here, what's negative 1 times 9?
Negative 9.
Negative 9. Now to make yourself look highly intellectual, we can let this little 1 disappear. And what's my answer?
Negative 1 is
Negative x minus 9. Make sure you still keep all those negative signs there, okay? You can't just say negative x 9. You have to make sure it says minus 9. Here's a new idea that I want you to write down. Combine the like terms before using the distributive property. So you've heard me say many times today, is there any work to do inside the parentheses? As we look at this right here, are there any like terms that you see inside the parentheses? Kaylee, what do you see?
negative 1, positive 7.
That is correct. Everyone underline that. Negative 1 and positive 7. We see here that the 2x is still right there by itself. Now notice, we are not going to say that the negative 3 is like terms because it's not inside the parentheses. Right now we're just combining things inside the parentheses. So we're going to go ahead and bring the negative 3 that's outside the parentheses down. And then, whenever we are doing things, I always like for you, out of this, to do the variable term first. So what's my variable term there? 2x. Remember, a variable is just something with a letter in it. So we're going to go ahead and bring the variable term down. It's a positive 2x. And now let's combine the like terms. What's negative 1 plus 7?
Negative 6. Positive 6.
Is it positive or negative 6?
Positive.
It's positive 6 because this 7 was the larger number. Okay, remember, same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract and take. So we're going to go ahead and put this in our parentheses. Now you can see there's nothing else that I need to combine inside, but I have this number on the outside. What should I do with that?
Multiply it by what's inside the parentheses.
Multiply it. We're going to distribute it to everything on the inside of the parentheses. Now, sometimes we can do this mentally in our head. Beforehand, we were going ahead and writing down this means negative 3 times 2x. If you can do that in your head, you do not have to write it down. Guys, what is negative 3 times 2x?
Negative 6x.
Negative 6x. So let's just go ahead and skip that step right now since we can do it in our head. Now we've got negative 3 times positive 6. What's the answer?
Negative 18.
Negative 18. And that is all the like terms we have, so our answer is negative 6x minus 18. Problem H. Is there anything that I need to combine inside my parentheses?
4 and negative 3.
4 and negative 3. Let's go ahead and underline it, and then that 3y is here all by itself. So I'm going to drop down my number that's on the outside, and let's start with our variable term. What's the variable term?
3y.
3y. Let's bring that down. And now we're going to go ahead and do 4 minus 3. What's 4 minus 3, guys?
1.
1. Is that a positive 1 or a negative 1?
Positive 1.
That is a positive 1 because the 4 was bigger. Am I finished?
No.
What do I need to do? Distribute the 2. Okay, so I'm going to take this and multiply it by the first term and also multiply it by the second term. Aubrey, what's 2 times 3y? 6y. Riley, what's 2 times 1? 2. And is that a positive 2 or a negative 2? Positive, so I'm going to put 6y plus 2. All right, fractions are always where we start to think, oh no, I don't remember how to do it. But let's see if we can still remember our rules even though we have a fraction. Is there anything that I need to combine inside the parentheses first? Yes. Good job. The A family, okay? So we're going to do the A and negative 2a. Once again, the negative 4 is still kind of there just by itself. So I'm going to drop down my number that's on the outside, negative 3/2, and let's combine my like terms first. A, we know this is a 1a, all right? So I'm going to combine this one and I'm going to combine this one. What is 1a minus 2a?
Negative 1a.
Negative 1a. So this is still going into our parentheses, negative 1a minus what?
Negative 4.
Minus a 4. Now I can go ahead and use my distributive property. Remember, distributive property is used whenever there's a number that's stuck outside the parentheses right there. That means I need to multiply it by the first term and multiply it by the second term. Let's look at the first term right here. I'm multiplying a negative times a negative. My answer is going to be positive, all right? So now let's go ahead and take this negative 3/2 and multiply it times negative 1a. We know the answer is positive, but what is my answer?
Positive 3/2.
Okay, 3/2, and what family are we in?
A.
The A family, so don't forget to bring that A down. Next up, we have a negative 3/2, and we are multiplying that by negative 4. What number can I put that over?
1.
Over a 1. Looking at this, is there anything that I can cross-reduce?
2 and 4.
The 2 and 4. What do those 2 and 4 become?
1 and 2.
A 1 and a 2. So now, I'm going to just go ahead and bring that first part down. I have 3/2 A. Now as I'm looking at this part right here, I have a negative times a negative. My answer is going to be
Positive.
positive, so let's bring down a plus sign. And what is 3/1 times 2/1?
6 over 1.
6/1, which just equals
6.
a 6. All right, so even though we had a fraction, you can still do the steps the same exact way that we do it without a fraction. Now, there is a fraction that is my absolute favorite fraction, and that's a half. Here's why. Half can be very simple for us. Answer these questions to me. What is half of 10? 5. What's half of 20?
10.
What's half of 4?
2.
2. So let's use that simple math that we can do with this one right here. All right, so let's go ahead. We've got this negative half that's on the outside. I have to multiply it first times the what?
Positive.
The 6n. What's the next thing I have to multiply it by?
4.
By the 4. Do I need to multiply this by that 2n?
No.
Why not? It's not inside my parentheses, so I don't distribute it. So let's go ahead and do this first part first right here. What's a negative times a positive?
A negative.
We know the answer is going to be a negative. Now help me out with this. What is half of 6n?
3n.
3n. Let's do the next one. I'm multiplying this negative times that positive. It's going to be a negative or a positive. Which one? A negative, because it's only one negative sign. What is half times 4? What's half of 4?
2. Negative 2.
2. Okay, we already knew it was a negative. Now this guy right here, I just need to bring him down. Okay, so we've got plus 2n. Am I finished?
Yes. No.
What do I still have to do? We've got some like terms here, so we've got to add those together, and this one will be left alone. So let's go ahead and add negative 3n plus 2n. Is that the same sign or different sign?
Different sign.
Okay, same sign, add and keep, different signs, subtract, and take the sign of the larger number. What's negative 3n plus 2n?
Negative 1n.
Negative 1n, and then you want to just bring down that minus 2. What's a way to make yourself look even smarter?
Take away the 1.
Take away the 1 and you get what, guys?
Negative
n minus 2. Great job. And listen, you did that even with a fraction. Once again, when you have a half, it's always easier than anything else. We're going to do one last problem today, and it is problem K. This one, some people say it's tricky because we have a decimal here, but it doesn't have to be tricky, okay? Is there anything that I can do inside my parentheses?
No.
No. Do I need to distribute anything?
Yes.
Yes. What do I distribute?
M. 1n.
This number right here is outside. Do you think that I need to distribute it to this?
No.
No, that's not in the parentheses. So I'm only going to be distributing it to the m and also to the negative 10. Working from left to right. What do you think I should do with that first number?
Subtract this from 1.5.
No, we're not going to subtract it yet, okay? Because this right here is just a constant, and you can see this is in the m family. So we're not going to try to subtract those. Instead, I'm just going to bring 3.5m down. Now, let's go ahead and distribute this first one. Negative 1.5 times m. What does that equal?
Negative 1.5m.
Negative 1.5m. Anytime you're multiplying a number times a letter, you really are just kind of smushing them side by side, okay? Now we've got to multiply this one times that one. So we're going to just go ahead and write negative 1.5 times negative 10. All right, so as we are working from left to right, what do you think I should do first? Think about PEMDAS. Should I subtract first or should I multiply first?
Multiply.
We should always multiply first, okay? So we're just going to drop all this stuff down, 3.5m minus 1.5m, and now this is asking us to multiply. I have a negative times a negative. Is that going to be negative or positive? It's a positive because of my even and odd rule. That was 2, which is an even number, so it's going to become a positive. Now on the right-hand side, some people might know how to do this in their head. If you don't, you can work it out. 1.5 times 10. What is 1.5 times 10?
50.
Okay, not 0.15. This has 1, that had none, so you have to move that decimal point over to the left, okay? Also know, if you have anything and you're multiplying it times a 10, you can always multiply or just move that decimal point to the right, okay? So that means we are adding 15. Am I finished? Can I box the answer and be done?
No.
What do I have to do? Combine the like terms. This is in the m family. This is also in the m family. Once again, You're going to combine these like terms. If you don't know how to do it in your head, you can always do the work over here on the side. But what is 3.5m minus 1.5m? 2m. Okay. Now it was 2.0 if you worked it out over here, but remember we do not need to keep that 0.0 there. It's just 2. And now I need to bring down plus what?
15.
Plus 15. So your answer is 2m plus 15. All right, the homework assignment for tomorrow is this right here over section 3.3. You can choose to either do it tonight or you can do it tomorrow.